Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Welcome, comrades, to the final AOR F1 race on PS4 of the decade, and it is Sochi that plays host to the Russian Grand Prix, a track that was long a pet project of Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, and finally they got an F1 race in 2014 after vast amounts of money were poured into this great project. But this Herman Tilke designed circuit isn't exactly popular with fans and drivers. Some say it makes for dull racing, but we are here to bring you some exciting action once again with the Drivers' Championship, of course, settled last week at Singapore as Tyrrell Sittle took his second top tier championship in dominating fashion. as he has done for most of the season, with 11 wins from the first 15 rounds. But this is round 16, and we have another 5 races to go after this one. So this is the final de facto European race of the season, even though it's further away from F1's traditional heartland. But this 5.8 kilometer circuit contains 2 DRS zones, and it will be at turn 2 and turn 12 where we'll get most of the overtaking action, given that most of the rest of the track is single file, particularly sector 3, which has a very tight, twisty technical section to finish the lap. Now, in terms of this particular race, it is your usual 18-minute qualifying session followed by 27 laps of this Sochi Ultradrome circuit. And, well, the tyre choices, well, as it has been since the F1 2016 game, very much one of the easiest one-stops on the calendar, but it's the middle range of Pirelli rubber that's available. Small chance of rain. Do sometimes get a bit of wet weather around this particular track, which may catch out some of the drivers who may not have practiced it just a little bit. Now let's remind ourselves of the championship standings going into tonight's round 16, and as previously mentioned, Tyrrell Schnitzel has done it. He has sealed the championship with a massive 170 points and less than that to play for. He is the champion, with Speedbar in second, Casper in third, Stay Frosty in fourth, with Jim Royce breathing down his neck, Danny MG and Tactician further behind, and Lee Finley moving up to a season high 8th in the standings, with Jim Perez and Blizzard making up the rest of the top 10. Now the Drivers' Championship may have been settled, but the Constructors' Championship is still very much up for grabs, although looking at it, Mercedes very much in the driving seat to take a 2 championship for Tyrrell Schnitzel in terms of that. 370 points for Mercedes. Williams now losing second place, it looks though, the way it's going, with Toro Rosso and Alfa Romeo right behind them now. Red Bull moving back up to 5th. They seem to be swapping positions every week with McLaren, with Renault not too far behind in the battle for 5th place. Racing Points have a bit of breathing space in terms of the wooden spoon battle, with Ferrari in 9th, and Haas, well, they'll be desperately hoping that Fabi today can get them a pretty decent result out there. But now we are done with the particular intro. Let's get Andy back into the commentary box. We had some serious Discord problems last week, but he is back, and well, welcome comrades, and well, yes, the championship is settled. It's going to be pretty much pedal to the metal for the rest of the season now that the pressure is all off for the drivers.
Absolutely. Hello, good evening everyone. Welcome along to tonight's live stream of round 16, and I hope it'll be a very good race round this track. It's a track I don't mind actually, personally, in terms of driving it, at least anyway. It's quite a flowing circuit, 18 turns, 2 long DRS zones. Turn 2 rather than turn 1 is obviously going to be the first major braking zone, as you mentioned, and certainly going to throw up plenty of excitement if there's cars side by side down into there. But it is nice to be back after last week's technical issues, where I unfortunately had to miss the longest race of the season, and watching Schnitzel win the Drivers' Championship. Congratulations to him. And there's a few of the drivers as well who were doing the Challenger event during the week as well, and have made it through to the Pro Draft as well. So, you know, congratulations to everybody that has qualified for that going into 2022. But it's time to concentrate on tonight and the final round of the decade as well as 2019.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a brief chat about the past races in the F1 games in general, but we're going to go on board for a hot lap now, and it's going to be the Racing Point of EPLF Deso 1, who has had a mixed form since joining the league, but he's going to be hoping for big things here this evening as Racing Point continue to go up the table. Andy, take it away for the hot lap of Sochi.
Yeah, here we go, down towards turn 1. DRS open from now. The turn 1's not really a turn, it's just a curve, and the road's really flat to the floor. Up to nearly 210 miles an hour. Pick your braking zone for turn 2. Down a little bit of a lock up there from Deso, down to third gear, just under 100 miles an hour, and then through the curve of turn 3, just increasing speeds all the way, nearly 190 miles an hour as we go into turn 4, down to 100 miles an hour. Clip the inside curb, take an exit curb as well, just a little bit of a tank slapper on exit, up to turn number 5, end of sector 1 now, nice and easy on the way, and use a bit of the curb on the exit, get so close to the wall on the way out as we go up to the next right-hander, turn number 7, getting a bit of a tank slapper there as Deso on the exit as we come into turn number 8 and 9, and we head up towards turn 10. This takes us onto the back straight and the second DRS zone, again just getting a bit sideways, a bit tail happy, that car when it's clipping onto the curbs, and that's something that Deso will want to be careful of during the race race itself, but back up to nearly 200 odd miles an hour, hard on the brakes into turn 13, tricky corner, and then got to be so careful through here. It looks so inviting to get the power down. There's a traffic jam up ahead as well as we come into turns 15 and 16. Speed Barry already at the top of the standings. You can see the Alpha Casper staying out of the way. Coming up to turn 17, use as much of the inside curb as you can, and the same again on the exit and again for turn 18. Through the final corner, the finish line comes up quick, and Dezo goes into second there, 5 times down on Speed Barry, who's at top on a 1 minute 30.3.
As ever, I'm sure the hot laps you do this second and the next will be just as informative as that. But not a bad time from Deso there. But Speed Barry certainly will be many observers' favourites for the win, because the big news here today, as I'm sure those watching have figured out, is that the reigning champion is not here. What happened, I believe, is that he over-celebrated to such a degree in terms of his alcohol consumption, he missed the flight to Russia. So that is the reason he is not here today. So in my view, he is really bringing the league into disrepute with that disgraceful behaviour, Andy. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a few choice ones for you right there. We'll laugh at also, but yeah, our champion, 2-time champion now, not here this evening. I'm sure he was celebrating quite enjoyably. But you know, it's a few drivers here. It is that Christmas time. There is a few events on. I know that Danny MG and Alvaro Anzar are doing an event elsewhere that they're invited to, so good luck to them for that. And there's plenty of other things going on at this time of year. It's something you do see, and hopefully everybody will come back in the new year with renewed enthusiasm for the remaining races. And we get to start off at Suzuka. I can't think of a better place to start back off, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, after we come back in the new year, it's such a delightful sequence of tracks to end the season on. So we should get some spectacular exhibition races as Casper goes into provisional pole with 1:32.10, and we weren't really talking about it at the time, but we saw the Alfa Romeo doing superb job on the toe on the second DRS zone, and I think that really helped Casper just then. But yeah, I mean, Abu Dhabi, unlike real life, is a brilliant league racing track, so even that we can look forward to. So come back. The championship may be over, folks, but if you are coming back in the new year, you're going to get fantastic racing action. But for the time being, it is Casper in provisional pole with Speed Barry, Blizzard, Nicholas Mateo and Deso making up the top 5. So only 13 runners. I think this is the lowest turnout of the season so far, which in some respects is disappointing, but also kind of expected. Christmas being a very busy period, and often some drivers think, well, you know what, I fancy having a bit of a longer break into the new year, which is fair enough. I mean, I've done it myself before because I've just been so busy. But in terms of drivers out there, it's a big opportunity. Dom's record of finishing in the top 2 is gone now, because he is not here this evening. So Speed Barry, I would say, is going to be the favourite here, given he has had the most wins outside of Tyrrell Schnitzel this season. But who else out there do you think could challenge for the win? A big opportunity for podiums as well.
Yeah, it's a very big opportunity for those that are here tonight. I mean, in terms of championship points, if 3 drivers drop out, everyone that finishes is guaranteed at least 1 point. I would say tonight, obviously, we'd expect, you know, Speed Barry to probably be one of the favourites to take the victory here. Casper showing some good early pace as well. Blizzard's up there as well. Nicholas Mateo is dying to try and finally get a really good run of form going. He's just been caught up in everything so far this season. Dezo, Frosty, Jim Roy, R2 as well. Ferrari's had a terrible season. The Finnish driver will be looking to come back, having had some back issues in the last couple of races as well. It's anybody's guess who could end up on the podium, to be honest, because they're all more than capable of doing so. One of the big bits that's going to come into effect here tonight is, obviously, you would have noticed on the hot lap we did with Dezo, is a lot of usage of the inside curbs, and to get a good lap time you need to be doing that, but that obviously means as well there's every chance of picking up a warning and then of course a penalty on the back of that. So the drivers do need to be very careful this evening, because that could make a big effect on the standings, especially with these 2 DRS zones as well. They can bring a little bit of a train in sometimes too, because the cars are just following each other so closely through the middle sector.
Yes, I mean, this track is absolutely notorious for, you know, track extensions and penalties, and that's something the drivers have got to be really careful about. Now, in terms of the strategy, Andy, I mentioned it in the intro that the tyre wear here is pretty much negligible, so I don't expect to see anybody to be using the hard compound at all, unless of course they get lap 1 damage and they try and go all the way to the end without stopping again. But it should be a very simple soft to medium strategy, or perhaps medium to softs, because these tyres just seem to last forever around here on this very smooth surface of Sochi.
Yeah, absolutely. So the hard tyres can do the entire race if you wanted to, but they don't hold the heat too well. They're not the quickest in that sense. We are, as you say, expecting either soft to medium or medium to soft. You can see everybody's been out in their opening exploratory laps onto the track on the soft compound tyre. You know, we could expect pole to be into the 129s, having had a couple of discussions with drivers. Softs can go around about 7 to 12 laps. Mediums can go 15 to 20, which is pretty far with this 29 lap race. So strategy will always be important, but don't expect to see the white wall tyres out, unless of course turn 2 becomes a bit of a war zone.
Well, here comes Alex, the most experienced driver on the grid this season by some distance in terms of race starts, and he moves up to P10, 1.9 seconds off the pace though. Some say, like his teammate, he was enjoying a bit of the sauce over the past week, which may affect his ability to drive correctly this evening, and given the amount of time he's off the pace, there may be some truth to that. But Tactician and Jim Perez and Fabi notably haven't set times yet, so that would suggest that they've invalidated their opening runs. Jim Perez back out on track, as is Casper, and Blizzard. Speedbari content to stay in the pit lane in the Toro Rosso garage for the time being. Hugo is out there, so 2 Racing Points out there. I think Racing Point will be aiming to really get away from the wooden spoon position for the end of the season. Fabi back into the pit, so I think he's invalidated again. But here comes Tactician heading through sector 3. It's it's very tricky, especially in cockpit mode, almost unsighted this particular corner here. And you have to really be careful with the steering, because again, there's this corner after corner where you can just easily cut. And I think he got a help from Casper in terms of the toe, so this may be a decent time if he kept it in. Oh, that was a big cut, and I think he didn't invalidate, so that was a 3-2 time off, so it's looking pretty tight, less than half a second covering the top 7, Andy, so this is what we want to see in terms of a tight session.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely what we want to be seeing here. And as you say, you can see there just with what Tactician did in that final corner. Nicholas Matteo done the same just before him that I was watching, put him up into P3, Tactician P4. You thought that they had obviously invalidated their Tactician going through the corner, but no, that's just how much curb you need to be able to take to get a good lap time around here. You really need to push the limits of where the track limits are and where the game will allow you and not allow you to push those limits very much. And the last corner is definitely one where you can be pretty much 3 wheels over the white line and maybe just have one, the rear wheel at the rear left, for example, just inside the track limits, and it counts. And that's where you're really going to make up the lap time here. But as you say, top 7 covered by just under 4/10 of a second actually at the moment. Stay Frosty, we know he can go quicker than that, so can Jim Roy, R2, Alex, in fact they all can. So, you know, we could easily see a qualifying section where everyone's within anywhere from half a second to a second, I would say, as the Alfa Romeos are once again Tactician giving his teammate Casper the slipstream down towards the end of the second DRS zone, which I believe is turn 11 or 12 if I've got the maths right. I don't have the track map up just now. So Casper's trying to see if he can be the first man to get into the 129 soon, but I don't know why he's had the DRS, the slipstream just now, because he's actually on an out lap, so bit of a strange one there. Maybe they got the timings wrong, but he's about to go for another one, and the Dutchman's on pole at the moment from Speedbari in second.
Yeah, and I was just looking at Nardi Perez. Almost looked like one of his tyres was delaminating because I saw some rubber flying off there. I don't know if he had a rear puncture, but that looked very weird on my screen. So Casper going for another time there. Speedbari is on another run. Now, just hearing rather predictably that it's going to be a dry race. But that wouldn't have affected the tyres they would have used in this session. Very much the softs are going to be the most popular tyre here. I don't think we've seen anybody fit the mediums so far. They're just, I think people want to get into the top 10 on the softs and settle in from there. So here comes Speedbari then, who has been one of the drivers who has at times really challenged the runaway champion Tyrrell Snitzel with 2 victories this season at France, and I think most notably at Monza, where he really dominated that race. Even Tyrrell Snitzel didn't have an answer to him in terms of race pace. So Speedbari will be looking for a 3rd win in what is beginning to really turn into a very impressive campaign for the Toro Rosso driver, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before the season started, my impressions of the Toro Rosso driver were quick but a little bit inconsistent. I remember him from the Team Esport event that went on earlier on this year, and you know, he had some quick races, but he just didn't have the consistency. He kept getting caught up in some battles, so I was expecting quick times from him. But I wasn't too sure quite what to expect. But he ended up with that early podium in China, and he's just gone from strength to strength. He's been the absolute find of the season, in my opinion, too. And he's just improving more and more as it goes along. I mean, his qualifying lap in Monza, it's been posted up on YouTube by a particular well-known YouTuber whose name I won't mention because everyone will know. And it's absolutely pinpoint accuracy around just about every single corner. It was amazing. So he's really showing himself to be a force to be reckoned with. If he can take that consistency into next season, who knows? Schnitzel might have a bit of a difficult time next year.
Yeah, that is possible, especially as the following season will, of course, not be the full 21 races. It will be a shorter season format, which is the traditional way that AOR works in recent years. But here comes Save Frosty, currently P9, kind of having a duel with the two Red Bull drivers today for 5th in the Constructors' Championship. So with Alvaro not here, it's going to be difficult for him to hold off Jim Roy and Nardi Perez. And oh, big slide around the corner, almost rally crossing over the line. He did improve, might have lost a tenth or two with that sliding business, but he's now under half a second away from Casper's time. Most of the drivers in the pit lane at the moment. It's a relatively short outlap here, so they can leave pretty late, probably around around 1 minute 45. That would be about the good time to get out, so you can still not push your tyres too hard. But again, because of the tyre deck being so minimal here, you can go ultra aggressive on the outlap to get temperature into the tyres. So it's just not really a concern in terms of tyre wear. But the undercut and overcut, that can be a tricky situation. But the undercut shouldn't be any problem to deploy here because there will be a lack of traffic with only 13 cars out there today. So Save Frosty, currently P8. And Alex and Jim Nardi Perez on track. Speed Barriers come out straight away, trying to get space, as has Tactician. So I expect the Alfa Romeos will be using some form of a slipstream, at least they'll attempt to. They did earlier in the session. So as we enter the final part of qualifying, Andy, it's looking like a straight fight between Casper and Speed Barrier for pole position.
Certainly at the moment it would seem that way. I mean, that's not to discount anyone else behind. Of course, with Frosty's lap there, that means the top 8 now are covered by under half a second and the top 10 by under a second, with 2 drivers still to set a lap time. One of those being Nardi Perez, who's just starting his latest lap just now, so we'll see where he can go on at the standings finally. Hopefully he can get a clean lap in, but you would imagine Speed Barry and Casper are the two to keep an eye on based on the early pace in qualifying. Casper does have the advantage of a teammate, of course. Speed Barry's teammate Lee Finlay is not here this evening, so he's not got the advantage of picking up a teammate to get a toe off of down that back straight, whereas Casper does in his fight to try and get the pole position away from the Toro Rosso driver. So it'll be interesting to see. All the cars are out on track now, so we've got 13 cars on track. Shouldn't be as busy as it normally would. Frosty's retired from the session somewhere, I think on track maybe as well, so that's an interesting one indeed. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Oh, has he binned? No, that's a Red Bull, sorry. So we'll need to wait and see. We're into the final minute now, and it's all systems go.
Yep, Tactician getting a good toe from the Alfa Romeo Casper if they can time this right. And what will happen is Casper will back off considerably to give himself a gap to Tactician. And when Tactician completes his lap, Casper will then catch up at full speed to Tactician. So the Alfa Romeos, we've seen this several times. In terms of like teamwork, they have certainly for me been the best in terms of on-track teamwork in these qualifying sessions, because at the track where toe is very important, they have several times shown their prowess here. And Tactician got a great toe there, and he did improve, but not position, but he gets within 0.3 of a second. Now let's have a look at Speed Barry, because he's out there at the moment. He's just entering Sector 2 right now. So Casper, he'll be somewhere behind Speed Barry on track, so we will switch back to him shortly. Just going to see who else is out there. Blizzard, we haven't seen much of him in this session. The sole Renault driver here today, with Danny MG not here. And I think that's Alex just behind, who will not have any more time to do another lap. So P10's going to be the best for him. Let's go see what Jim Nardi Perez is doing. He's still in the first sector. So let's have a look at Speed Barry then. Speed Barry heading for turn 12. Heavy braking zone there. Very easy to go deep and lose time on the exit, but this looks typically smooth from the Toro Rosso driver. through the following section of corners, 15 and 16. Very nicely done there. Didn't take too much curb, but good on the power on the exit. He's running very minimal fuel, so there's not going to be a loss of drag in that car right now. So around the final corner he goes. What's it going to be for speed bar? He needs to find a 10.5, and he does. A 130, 139. We're not quite in the 29s yet. But what about Casper? Casper's getting a mega toe from the Alfa Romeo. But can he get the car slowed down with all that extra? Yes, he does. That was picture perfect there from Casper. Casper looks like they're next to Mateo. My goodness, he's in P3. Look how close he is. Almost getting above Casper there. So Nick Mateo having one of his best qualifying sessions of the season. Tactician currently in 4th. Desso is still out there on an outlap, but he's run out of time. Blizzard's in P6 and still going for a lap. Round the corner Casper goes. What's it going to be for Casper? It's pole, and it's by over a 10th. 132.8, but is there anyone else out there who can take it away? What about Blizzard? Blizzard rounds the final corner. It's P6. Jim Roy, well, he's been known for a good qualifying lap. Now again, he goes across the line, and it's P4. And I don't think there's anyone else out there who's going to challenge that. So it is Casper who's going to take pole position here today. What a brilliant lap by Casper, but that does, a lot of that is owed to the excellent teamwork from Alfa Romeo, because I think that toe may well have made the difference there, Andy.
I would say so indeed. I mean, both of them nailed what is turn 12 at the end of the DRS zone. I was watching on board with Speed Barry, and I was completely mesmerised with just how quick he was able to strip the speed off without locking up. It was amazing. Casper, he'd done the exact same thing, but he had a good 10 miles an hour more into the braking zone than what the Toro Rosso did, so very well done to get that slowed down. But look at that, all the drivers, apart from Nardi Perez, who didn't manage to set a lap time, having invalidated, everyone just over a second between the top 12, and you could be sure that Nardi Perez would be within amongst that as well. So we're going to be in for a very good race here, and it could be absolutely anybody's, as we mentioned. The top 3 separated by 7/100, well, they were originally 7/100ths of a second until Casper's time, a 1 minute 30.0, so we don't quite break the 129s there. Speed Barry in second, a 10th down, then Nicholas Matteo his last lap up into 3rd. Jim Roy finally getting himself up the board into 4th with Tactician in 5th, Dezo in 6th, Blizzard 7th, Hugh Golf in 8th, Stay Frosty 9th, R2 10th, Fabi in 11th, Alex in 12th, and Nardi Perez no time, the only driver. All the top 10 starting on the soft compound tyre, as you can see. So be interested to see what 11, 12 and 13 of Fabi, Alex and Nardi Perez decide on. I would imagine medium, but you never know.
Yeah, well that's the kind of session you want to see. I mean, that is so close between the top 3, but it was really close by there. So we could get some really good battles. I just hope everyone gets through turn 1, so we don't get any damage, so we don't get a big field spread, so we can get some great battles. Because this track, on the game at least, is very much capable of giving us some thrilling racing action. I have seen it not only in AOR, but in other leagues in the past. So we're going to do slightly different. Well, I mean, it's the end of a decade, Andy, and it is also the end of a decade for this particular series of games. I mean, F1 2010 started the decade, and there was much excitement after many years in the wilderness without an F1 game on the various consoles. And well, any particular memories that stand out for you in terms of those games, or maybe even say what your favourite game was?
Ooh. Well, I do remember my reaction when I heard that Codemasters were bringing out a new game in 2010. It was an absolute delight, because it had been a number of years. I think the last one I remembered before that was F1 Formula 1 2006. So it had been a good number of years. I was very happy. My favourite would be what I think is also a lot of other people's favourite as well, F1 2012. And believe it or not, this humble commentator actually raced in AOR back in season number 5 on the Xbox 360. Unfortunately, I was only in tier 5 and I never won a race. But I do remember that game very fondly for that reason. I had some good fun times on Sundays. But I do enjoy this latest iteration as well. Certainly prefer this for driving in terms of last year's 2018 version. I much prefer this, but there's been so many good moments through AOR's history. For me, it's hard to pick one out, really, that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't know about yourself, Mark.
Well, I mean, I was playing all of the F1 games, but I never league raced until 2016. So I think personally for me, 2016 was my favourite, because some of the racing I had on that game was absolutely spectacular. And I did enjoy the sort of feel of the game online on that particular one. I mean, sure, the features and graphics have got better since then, but that was for me the most enjoyable league racing I did. And it was actually the first few seasons I did. But we're going to stop on our particular nostalgia trip because we've got the business of hand of the AOR F1 Russian Grand Prix, the final AOR F1 PS4 race of the decade. And the story here is that Casper and Speedbari are on the front row. Two drivers who prefer Casper in particular will be gunning for his first win of the season, and indeed his first win in the top tier of AOR, because he has come close this season. He has had a couple of pole positions and another one here to add to his name, but Speedbari will also be in the hunt for that particular third victory. But Nicholas Mattei, well, he's someone who does tend to get a lot of penalties, so if he can cut that out, he will be a threat, given his pace in qualifying. Now, in terms of the tyre choices for those outside the top 10, not many outside the top 10 today, of course, with only 13 runners, and they've all opted for the alternate strategy of the medium tyres. So I think Fabi, in his particular debut, showed some promising pace, so he may be one to look out for later on if he can stay out of trouble. I think, in my view, it's going to be a winner from the top 10 who's going to take this race victory here today. So Speedbari then getting into position, tantalisingly close to Casper right in front of him, just waiting for a few stragglers at the back to join the grids, and then the green flag will be waved to get us underway here at the Sochi Autodrome. Vladimir Putin in the stands here as ever, overlooking his pet projects. And we're about to get the 5 red lights here. The tension rises here, and here we go then, the 5 red lights, and we're about to get underway. And it's go, go, go here at Russia. And it's an excellent start and a magical start from Casper. And right behind him, Speedbari is under big threat. It was a mighty start from the Red Bull. I think that was Jim Roy. Jim Roy is actually in the mix here for P2. Late on the brakes for Casper. Speedbari right behind him. And Nicholas Mattei is being demoted to 4th position. So a brilliant start. I think he was slightly boxed in by the slow starting. But look at this. Speedbari's going to try and have a look at Casper on the first lap, right behind Jim Roy, Nicholas Mattei and Blizzard. Not too far behind. And look at this. This is going to be a move down into... Oh my, not normally getting overtake there. Side by side they go. That is a bold move from Speedbari, and he takes the lead here in Russia. You don't normally see an overtake here. It must have been a really poor exit from Casper out at the end of Sector 1. And he may be under all sorts of threat, but Speedbari actually in some ways in an unenviable position as they enter the flat out section, which we will call the Putin Parade, or whatever you want to call it, between turns 10 to 13. But look at the straight line speed he's got. It looks pretty mighty on that Toro Rosso, but look at this right behind. Nicholas Mattei is trying to come back at the Red Bull to regain the position he lost. So will he go down the brakes? No, he will not. That's quite sensible driving there from Nicholas Mattei. So no overtakes there going into turn 13. Casper, well, he'll be hoping just to sort of stay behind for the time being, save that ERS, and then get ready to attack on the DRS when it is activated at the start of lap 3 by race control. So your race order as they cross the line for the first time. It is Speedbari, Casper, Williams, Jim Roy, Nicholas Mattei, Blizzard, Tactician, Hugh Golf, R2, Fabi, Stay Frosty. That looked like a pretty clean start to me, Andy.
Yeah, there was no damage by the looks of it, and certainly nothing visible. Blizzard slightly tapped the back of Nicholas Mattei into turn number 2, but not enough to knock any wings off his car or turn the Haas driver around. Dezo's had a terrible start, down 5 places already. He just got caught in the middle of the melee into turn 2. There was almost 4 wide at one point in the run down to turn 2, and he just got caught in the middle of it with nowhere to go, backed out, and it's cost him 5 places off the start. Blizzard, R2 and Fabi, the biggest gainers on the opening lap, up 2 places, and Jim Roy obviously getting ahead of Nicholas Mattei, which could be key if he wants to get himself up into this fight for the victory today. But Fabi in 9th, up 2 places. He's the highest medium runner because of that as well, and he seems to have some pretty decent grip in the early stages at the moment as well. But clean start through the field, no damage, certainly nothing visible to report.
Yes, well, Deso, as you mentioned, making a pretty horrific start there, but Fabi running in P9 on the medium, so that he may certainly be a driver to keep an eye on. If he can keep up with these soft runners, he could very well be into play for a podium later on, because the softs are very fast on the alternate strategy compared to the mediums, especially as the medium runs will be going quite long on those tyres. Tactician in P6, and a big snap of the steering wheel there for Casper, but he managed to get it calmed down. Now the DRS will be activated. I'm not sure if they get it available straight away when the lap starts, so we'll find out in a few moments. Yes, they do get it immediately. So Casper is about 7/10 behind Speedbari, and he'll use this to close the gap. Right behind him, that Blizzard And Nicholas Mateo trying to get, is it going to be any overtakes? Let's have a look at Stay Frosty. Stay Frosty's right behind the Haas of Fabi. But no moves for the time being. With them all within DRS range of each other, it may be tricky for the drivers to make moves for the time being, Andy.
Yeah, definitely. So I think everyone's just trying to settle in, find where each of the competitors are strong and weak, and just trying to get through that pit stop phase, get to the pit stops, maybe get some clean air, try and get out of this traffic. The undercut, considering how close they still are, even after just 3 laps, could be very important in this race. And just noticing from the chat, someone mentioning that Deso actually has front wing damage. So someone who obviously knows him well, as Blizzard gets a big drift on there coming out of what is, I believe, turn 9 and 10, but it's not visible on Dezo's car, but it does seem he might have some wing damage on his car, so that will not have helped him at all. So he must have had a little bit of contact, no doubt, I'd imagine, going into turn number 2. But everyone, I think, just keeping it nice and easy at the moment, not wanting to try too hard, not wanting to push it. Oh, Frosty's just had a right moment going into at the end of the DRS zone into turn number 12. Dezo looking up the inside, but that's not an overtaking place, and Frosty holds on to the position for now. I'm not sure if Dezo caught him on the way in or not, or if it was just Frosty locking up on the rears, but he's managed to hold on to 10th. That's the final championship point at the moment. Speed Barry with the fastest lap of the race, a 34.8, as he tries to disappear, and Frosty's drifting again. That's going to give Dezo a bit of a run, but he's not close enough even with the DRS. In fact, it's going to be Frosty who's going to try and attack on Fabi, who's completely defenceless with no DRS. He's too far from R2, and the McLaren goes up the inside into turn number 2, takes away the place, and Fabi back down to 10th position, but he's still the highest running medium runner. He could still come into the race later on.
He certainly can. Deso very close in back of Fabi, and Casper had a bit of a moment just before the fast left-hander, which starts the lap. And so Jim Roy picks up a time penalty. We saw a time penalty for Stay Frosty as well, so I think that's not going to be the last time penalty we see here. So Deso trying to put Fabi under pressure. Fabi will know that the soft tyres will be better performing than the mediums, at least for a few more laps, so he's going to have to do some defending to make this strategy work. Stay Frosty is now 2.2 seconds, so he's been cut off from the top 8 for the time being, and Speed Barry ominously is nearly out of DRS range, but the DRS being activated for Casper, meaning he's able to gain plenty of time back. So Casper will be slightly disappointed. He was caught napping really on that first lap. It was a very bold move by Speed Barry into the inside corner of turn 7, which gave him the lead, and which he has maintained ever since. And Casper knows that he's got Jim Roy, Nicholas Mateo and Blizzard breathing down his neck. If he drops out that 1 second, he's going to be highly vulnerable to likes of Jim Roy. So in some ways, he might need to concentrate on trying to break the 1 second barrier to Jim Roy rather than the chase on Speed Barry, because either way, if he's out the 1 second ahead and he hasn't dealt with Jim Roy behind, he could be losing more positions. So Speed Barry taking a left side of the track just to try and cut that toe. Looking further down, we might see a battle between Deso. It's right behind the Haas. Would he go for a late move? Oh no, not quite close enough. So Fabi had DRS on Stay Frosty up ahead, but wasn't able to do anything about the McLaren and Deso. As a result, wasn't able to do anything about the Haas. So it's kind of a bit of a chess game at the moment. They're all sort of saving battery, although Blizzard has gone through his battery entirely. He'll need a few extra Duracells, otherwise that's going to not help his progress later on in this race, because battery is very important at this particular track, because much of the circuit here is taken at full throttle. 75% of this Sochi track, in fact, is taken at full throttle, so having all that extra power is so important. So Blizzard's may have to get it in mode 0 for a little bit, at least to recover that. But Nicholas Mateo now fairly close to that Red Bull up ahead. I think Casper is almost out a second ahead. So it has a little look, trying to force Jim Roy to go deep into the second corner. So 5 laps gone then of this Russian Grand Prix in AOR F1 PS4. And we haven't seen too much action so far, but I think as these tyres wear off, I think we will start to get some overtakes.
Yeah, definitely. So Dezo's just made his way past on Fabi at the end of the second DRS zone into turn number 12. Just a much better run out the corner, DRS to assist him nicely up the inside. So if he does have a little bit of wing damage, it's certainly not having much enough effect at the moment. Casper's gained time though on Speed Barry, so I think Speed Barry's had a bit of an issue during that lap, because he has lost about 5/10 of a second. As you see Nicholas Matteo going up the inside on Jim Roy into turn number 2. DRS assistance there for the Haas driver. The Red Bull driver will fancy his chances if he can stay close enough through the rest of the lap, but the best thing to do would be wait for the DRS down the back straight. Getting awfully close going through turn 4 there. I need to be very careful of that, but Casper's now out of that DRS range of those two, and he is right behind Speed Barry, so something's happened to that Toro Rosso, because he's lost nearly half a second in that last lap. Didn't know if you caught it, I certainly didn't on screen, but that's helped Casper out immensely, because he's no longer now at threat from the cars behind, because he's out of DRS range.
Yes, I think he may have just had a bad lap, to be honest. Casper maybe was harvesting battery a little bit, and now he's really back on the pace. So next turn back up to P3, Jim Roy in P4. Can Jim Roy get back ahead of this? It's always a really bold move to go for a late braking manoeuvre here. Had a quick look, but yeah, Casper seems to have a bit more pace than Speedbar. I'm sure Speedbar maybe. He did set some fastest laps early on in the first stint, so I don't know if Speedbar has burnt through his tyres a little bit too quickly so far. That could be a possibility. So we're going to switch our attention to the battle for the lead, because if Casper's got a bit more straight line speed, including that DRS, he may be able to get an attempt to regain the position he had right at the start of the race with his pole position. But I think Nick Stowe may be about to be under threat from Jim Roy as well. Blizzard and Tactician keeping watching brief. So the top 6 kind of breaking away from likes of Hugo for LR2 now. So it doesn't look like Casper's going to be close enough. What about Jim Roy? Is Jim Roy getting anywhere near? No, not quite. So Desso slowly beginning to recover positions, but because of that awful start he had, he's lost so much time battling the likes of Seyfried and Fabi. He's now nearly 4 seconds behind LR2, so he's going to have to try and hope that he can gain back some of that time when he makes his pit stop later on. So Nicholas Matteo, Jim Roy and Blizzard, and Tactician, this looks like a potentially thrilling 4-way fight for the final podium, because it looks like to me that the top 2 will be fought out by Speedbar and Casper, because they just have a few extra attempts on these guys at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and certainly keeping an eye on Blizzard in that Renault. I remember when he joined AOR was in F2 when I was commentating on that, and the race that really brought him back to the fore, where he had some really good runs, was here at Sochi, albeit in the wet. And from then he's just kind of picked the pace up bit by bit and just been able to get further up. That's what's got him into tier 1 now as well, so he could be on for a nice race here tonight. Does seem to enjoy this place a little bit more than some of the other tracks, right on the back of that Red Bull at the moment, but he does have the Alfa Romeo Tactician right on his gearbox as well, so these 4 are pretty close for the final podium position at the moment. The top 2 have cleared away by about a second and a half, nearly 2 seconds roughly at the moment, and these 4 have a bit of a gap. Now, in fact, that's Tactician going for the pit, so the Alpha has decided, I am going to take the advantage here, or I'm going to try and take the advantage here. I'm going to pit first, and I'm going to go into those medium compound tyres, so that's going to be 20 laps. There's a Ferrari at R2 coming into the pits as well, as is Dezo, who will be able to change his front wing if he wants to as well, if it is damaged. So pit stops in full effect now. Casper's right behind Speed Barry though as they come through turn 3. You just wonder if he can stay that close going out of turn number 10. He might just have a chance into turn 12.
Yeah, it's possible. This is going to be the key thing. Riding through the dirty air, that's Toro Rosso. He's got to try and keep as close as he can. He's got plenty of battery. Speedbar has 30% less than Casper, so that could be critical. You know, we're not too far away for most of the pit stops for these soft runners, and the luxury of this particular track is you can pit pretty early here and go on the mediums all the way to the end of the race. Anyone who goes on the hards, they're at least half a second a lap slower than the mediums, and that's the best amount. Oh, and there's something's happened behind. What's happened? Jim Roy, I think, has been involved in contact. Yeah, Jim Roy's gone off.
He's spun. I don't know what happened. Just caught the end of it as well. He's sideways coming out of turns 8.
Side by side, Casper goes ahead of Speedbar into the lead of the Russian Grand Prix. We just caught the end of that, thankfully. Didn't miss it entirely, but Speedbar has been demoted, and that lack of pace Speedbar has had the last few laps going to the throw again. So what will Casper decide to do now? Because the likes of Nicholas Matteo and Blizzard may be thinking, well, we better respond. And yes, they both come in. Both coming into the pits. So Speedbar and Casper come. It's going to be a straight fight between the Alfa Romeo and Toro Rosso crews. And will Nicholas Matteo follow him? Yes, he's responding to Tactician's pit stop, as is Blizzard. It's going to be a very busy pit lane. And what may happen to Casper and Speedbar, they may get held up by another car coming into the pit. So let's look at this battle, this duel, and a 5-second penalty for Jim Roy. So it's all gone wrong for him on lap 9. Or lap 8, I should say. But here comes the pit stop. Yeah, Casper gets out ahead. And yes, it is as you were. just behind actually is the Haas and Nicoteri and Blizzard, so they could well be back into this fight. What about Tactician? Tactician's going to be the key element. Tactician's coming out on track now. Is he going to be ahead of all those other guys? I think he's going to be in a net P3. Yes, he is. He has made that undercut work brilliantly, and Jim Roy has called it a day. I guess in utter frustration. Yeah, that's a clear sign of frustration, retiring the car and leaving immediately. I think he's an absolute number. Whether he's had contact with Nicholas Patel or Blizzard, I mean, he was in close proximity with Scud, but we didn't see what happens. But we'll find out later in Jim Roy. It's a safety car! A safety car! What on earth? We have not seen a safety car since the medieval ages. But Fabi and Jim Perez, Alex on the mediums, they have just been gifted a bonsai opportunity here to get themselves a massive result here. That is not something I saw coming at all. I mean, these mediums will go to the end of the race, so there won't be any need coming in the pits. But the problem is for Fabi and Nardi, Perez and Alex, on the other hand, is that they'll have to pit for the softs. But can the softs go to the end from here? So perhaps
no,
it's
I don't think the softs would go to the end, to be honest. I would have to be the hards, and then they'd be a little bit circumspect later on, you know, they'd be struggling for grip. So, yeah, a safety car is about as rare an occurrence as the USSR reforming again, to be perfectly honest with you. So did not see that one coming, and that has to have come about because of Jim Roy. He retired in pit lane, but his Ghost AI car has came back out on track, and for some reason the game's going, oh, can't have that, yellow flag in sector 3.
Nardi Perez stays out.
So it's done it. Oh, so Fabi's in. And Alex is in, so Nardi Perez has decided to stay out. Now that's interesting.
Well, I mean, I think he realises. I mean, in my excitement, my natural instinct is to think, well, the guys who are staying out will have the advantage, but actually the softs are unlikely to reach the end. Well, they'll have to do 17 laps in them. Well, probably a bit less than that. It'll probably be more like safety car. Probably stay out maybe another 2-3 laps, maybe. We shall see. So Jim Nardi Perez is your net race leader at the moment. I don't actually see the safety car yet on track, which is a bit worrying. So I haven't seen Jim. There it is. So here the safety car collecting Jim Nardi Perez. So Casper will be in P2, Speedbar will be in P3, and Tactician will be in P4. Next so in P5. So one retirement. So Jim Roy, it remains to be seen what kind of opportunity he will give Nardi Perez here. But Nardi Perez, well, with the field all closed up, he may well be in for a difficult restart, because the likes of Casper and Speedby will be trying to get past him immediately at the restart. And Andy, that restart could well define the victory, because if Casper can get ahead of Nardi Perez and kind of box in Speedby even for half a lap, that may allow him to break away out of that DRS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely going to be a key moment, especially if Nardi Perez decides to stay out as long as possible. And this race is all within his right to also defend his position as well, so doesn't have to get out of the way, but he's on 9-lap old tyres compared to the fresh 1-lap tyres that the rest have been on. It's such a shame in one sense for Fabi and Alex, although they've been able to get their pit stop out of the way. They've gone on to the soft compound tyres. I do not see those tyres going 17 laps, even with a couple of laps behind the safety car. I think that's a tall order to get them to the end of the race. If it had been a few laps later, might have been a difference.
Would it be worth them pitting again immediately for another set of fresh mediums?
Well, there goes Nardi Perez.
Yeah, Nardi Perez in the pit lane, so well, that will cost him badly. I mean, to be fair though, it's not going to really change his net position too much. I mean, he'll be at the back of the queue, and it's going to be.
Alex has done what you're thinking of. He's came back in. He's going to put in another set of mediums, I'd imagine. Get his pit stop out of the way. Gone on to a different compound, back in, put on the better ones to guarantee him getting into the race and join the back of the queue. So he's been pretty clever in that one. There, he's going to have fresh mediums, guaranteed. He's going to get to the end of the race, and then Fabi's going to struggle, I think, on those softs. So same with Nardi Perez.
Interestingly, though, Fabi did not choose to do that. So if the safety car comes in now, he's going to be in deep trouble, Fabi, because yes, he'll have very fresh softs, so he'll be able to make some overtakes, but then he'll have to pit again. So he could well be flat last once everything plays out. But who knows? We could get a second safety car. You know what they say about buses. We might get a second one here today. But so lap 11 here of this AOR F1 Russian Grand Prix, and it is a rare Pokemon sighting, if you will, a safety car on the track. But in terms of the story so far. Casper and Speedbarry, they were your top two to start the race. Speedbarry made a brilliant move on lap 1 to take it, but Casper, to his credit, found the race pace to take the fight back to Speedbarry. Then a safety car came out after Jim Roy had an incident on lap 8 and then sped in the pit lane and decided to retire the car, which then triggered a safety car. So we're about to see if this safety car is going to come in now, so keep an eye on the lights on that safety car as Casper runs off track, slightly close to the safety car, a bit closer than he perhaps would have liked. But Tactician, I would say, is the star so far outside the battle for lead, because he made an undercut work brilliantly just before that, and safety car is in this lap, as you can see from race control. So now Casper is going to have to back up the field, but not make sure to lose too much temperature in those tyres, and then he can select when to go. Now Russia is actually one of those tracks where doing the restart is a bit easier because it's lots of slow corners, so it doesn't give much of an opportunity for the pack to sort of make a sneak attack on you. So Casper may choose to go before the final 2 corners and then try and defend. The DRS won't be enabled immediately. It'll be enabled, I would say, the following lap by race control. So here we go then. I think this is the first safety car restart of the season, I do believe. I don't remember there being another, but here we go. Casper bolts away. Now what about Tactician? Can Tactician do any sort of favour for his teammate by trying to put Speedbarry under threat? Looks like a pretty decent restart from everybody, and as we say, because of that slow corner, unless someone makes that right meal of that turn 18, and here comes Nicholas Mateo just behind, having a quick look. And what about Deso? Is maybe under threat from Save Frost behind, but no moves for the time being as Alex picks up a time penalty. So Tactician is right on the back of Speedbarry, and Nicholas Mateo is even closer to him. Oh, and there's contact. I think there may have been contact between the Renault and the Haas. They look very close going into turn 6, or turn 5 I should say, but didn't see any carbon fibre, but they looked mighty close there, but they got away with it. So Nadi Perez has moved up to P10, but the 2 soft runners, they may well be very compromised. But look at that, Fabi all over the back of the Ferrari of LR2, trying to get back out ahead of him. So the next few laps, I think, are going to be very crucial for the destiny of this race. Casper will know that once the DRS is enabled, he will be the hunted, sort of Speedbarry and Tactician behind him. Here comes Fabi though, looking to make a move, which will put him up to P7. Down the inside he goes with the better grip. And for the next few laps, at least, he's going to have a whale of a time sailing past these cars in theory. But then he will take pain later on when these tyres wear off. And unless he can stretch these out to the end of the race, which seems unlikely given what we've seen so far, he's going to have to pit again. So he will have some fun, but ultimately he may finish well out of the points. So back to the front we go then, because Speedbarry is right on the back, and they're already starting to, a little gap is emerging behind them. And if anything, Nicholas Mateo is looking very close and has a bit more straight line speed, and that's making Tactician having to defend. Covers to the inside. Can Nicholas Mateo go for the outside? It's very difficult to go round the outside into turn 2. It doesn't get the job done. But that better exit has actually given him half a chance. Through the fast left hand that they go. Will he go for a move? Yes, he's going to go for it. He's licked the stamp and he has kept it. Oh, it's gone wide though. And Tactician is going to try and come back at him. Yeah, he went a bit too deep, and I think Tactician may regain the place. They go side by side into the following corner. Watch out for Blizzard just behind. Oh, Blizzard, I think, just tapped the rear of the Alfa Romeo, and that unbalanced the car. Hugh Golf is right behind him, and yeah, Tactician ultimately loses the place. But Andy, what did you think of that? I mean, Nicholas Mateo, he went for it, but he'd run wide off the track to maintain the position.
Yeah, he went in far too deep. He has gone wide. Obviously, the game will either have picked him up a warning, or you never know, it might get picked up by the stewards afterwards. But he kind of felt that was the time to do it, try and catch the Alfa Romeo off guard. It's not normally much for an overtaking position there into turn number 4. He got the moves done. I'm sure Tactician will be absolutely raging in that white and red machine behind him. But Nicholas Mateo has done what we know he can do. We have seen him doing it. He's just seems to end up with contact at some point during doing some of these, so he's managed to make that one stick. But now he's a bit defenceless because he's 1.7 seconds behind Casper and Speed Barry. DRS is now enabled as well, so now he's going to be completely defenceless to everyone behind coming up with DRS. Tactician's going to be the first one to have a go. Will he get close enough? Will Speed Barry up ahead decide to have a move? He's not close enough. Does Tactician get close enough? No, he doesn't. Look at that. In the background though is Fabi on those soft compound tyres. As I look at the racing point of Hugolf as well, but no movements anywhere through the field, and I'll be very surprised if Fabi and Nardi Perez get to the end of the race on these soft compound tyres. But it is all kicking off now, and Barry is right behind Casper. And I just wonder, is the Toro Rosso driver just sitting there quite happily, saving the battery up, just picking his moment, because he's got plenty of ERS available, over 90%, and he's still able to stay within half a second. So I think he's doing what we've seen Dominic do. He's just planning. Oh, big moment for Casper up ahead there, collecting it coming out of turn 9, but stays ahead at the moment. But I think Barry's doing what we've seen Schnitzel do, just sitting there, just saving up the battery, just sticking in the slipstream and the DRS and just waiting to pick his moment and go.
No, I think you're right. Casper still has a decent amount of battery left. It's not as if he's draining for it. I think he knows this game full well, so he's not going to be overdoing it in terms of battery. And looks like Deso, it's been a difficult lap by the looks of it with Nardi Perez. He's just dropped from 9th to 11th in the lap. He got overtaken by Deso again, and then let's say Frosty got to get up into the points. So it looks like Jim Nardi Perez, well, at this rate, he's not going to be doing much in terms of the points. So let's go back to the battle for the lead, though, because this looks like a really game opportunity for Speed Barry to take the lead of this race. Puts it up into overtake mode, going well over 200 miles an hour. Casper's got to cover the inside. He doesn't. He leaves the space for him. Can Speed Barry get slowed down? Because if he doesn't, he's going to risk running wide and picking up a warning. And yes, he just gets it done, but he runs wide. Here comes Casper right behind him, trying to get back in front of him. But running through the dirty air through this fast left-hander, so tricky. And Speed Barry regains the lead of the Russian Grand Prix, back up to P1 for the time being. And look at this, right behind Tactician, under all sorts of pressure from Blizzard. So despite the low amount of drivers, we're getting a lot of close action here today. Now Casper, you know, he will not be phased, because earlier on in the race he was overtaken by Speed Barry, and then he came back with a vengeance in terms of race pace. So he has not given up hope of getting his first ever top tier victory on PS4. He'll be desperate for it, because he has come close earlier in the season, but not a particularly good exit going out onto the second DRS section. That's allowed Speed Barry to get just over 6 tenths, but that's now coming back down. Now in terms of those behind, Nicholas Mateo is 1.1 seconds behind. If anything, Nicholas Mateo is actually beginning to close the gap to the top two a little bit. So in terms of race pace, Andy, this looks like the most impressive we've seen from Nicholas Mateo so far this season.
Yeah, he's definitely shown some very good pace. He gained half a second there, obviously helped by Barry going past on Casper, and then them having to just defend off each other a little bit, cost him a few tenths of a second. He could do the Haas driver with getting into that 1 second window, because he has got a train of cars behind him. You've got Tactician, Blizzard, Hugo, Fabi, R2's nearly sticking with him. In fact, pretty much the rest of the field are all within this big DRS train behind Nicholas Mateo. He's the only driver who does not have DRS on the track at the moment. Everyone else has it at this point in time pretty much, so he really could do with catching up to the front too. But Casper now has got to try and he's got to be clever about this. He's got to do what Barry was doing there, what Speed Barry was doing, saving the battery up, staying as close as possible, picking his moment and then going past. And that's what he needs to try and do, and they're probably ding-dong back and forward doing that for the rest of the race. And they do need to be careful though, because if they do start fighting, the rest of the pack are going to be on their tail, and then, well, after that point it's anyone's guess. You might as well throw it in the mix, throw the balls in the lottery machine and pick a number out and see who wins, because that's how it'll end up.
Yes, I mean, given how evenly matched Speed Barry and Casper have been in terms of race pace here at Sochi today, it may well come down to penalties. I think so far neither one of them have a time penalty, but we'll check that in a few laps' time. But Casper just saving his battery for the time being. I think he's just doing the reverse strategy of what Speed Barry did earlier on. So he's got his battery over 80% again. You know, it would be a good drinking game in terms of commentary every time you say battery, because it is such a dominant factor in the games these days. But Blizzard picks up a time penalty on this lap, Safety picks up another one. So Blizzard's fight for the podium slightly compromised by that penalty he's just picked up, right behind the Alfa Romeo of Tactician. Hugo is having a pretty impressive run there. I think Hugo's had a few 6th place finishes this season. Looking at it, yes, he had a 6th place back in Monaco. His best being a fourth placer back in terms of his position. So let's just have a quick look at Casper. Actually, anything? No, I was thinking there might have been a battle between Desso and R2, but that didn't come to anything in the end. Now, what about Blizzard? Blizzard is right behind the Alfa Romeo. Would he go for some bold overtake on the inside? Does tend to be quite aggressive on the overtakes. It's been a mixed bag in terms of this season. I mean, his best performance by far, certainly the French Grand Prix when he came within a whisker of getting the victory there. But some sources say that Casper may have a time penalty, but we will confirm that shortly.
Does.
But Blizzard
He does, I've just looked.
Ah, yes, so that is confirmation then. So at the moment, Speedbari in the box seat to win this race. So once again, penalties may be costing Casper a shot at the win here. Here comes Blizzard then, getting onto the back of that Alfa Romeo, but again these DRS trains proving to make it very difficult to get overtakes done. So we'll switch our attention to Desso. Nothing doing there. So it's so close here, but as these tyres wear off, this is where the mistakes will creep in, this is where the gaps will be created, and then we will see the overtakes. So I could just see in the background making an absolute meal of that sector, and that's allowed Tactician to close ever closer. You just get the sense that all of a sudden they'll be 3 wide going down into turn 2, Andy, in that battle for third.
Yeah, it's going to get very dicey in the moment for that last podium position, because they're always lining up. But as you say, because everybody has DRS, everybody's kind of lining astern. The only one that doesn't, of course, is the Haas at the front, and Tactician's got a good run. But again, Nicholas Matteo's doing a good job at the moment, despite having no DRS. He's obviously keeping his battery for the right moment. Fabi's just gone by. Hugolf has ran wide, so let's drop Timmer. He's had to take the long way round. He's going to drop all the way to the back. Don't know quite what happened there, because I had a very bad shot of it as I skipped down to it, but that's dropped him from 6th down to 11th, just as we were saying about how he's having a good race there. He's dropped all the way to the back of the field, and I think he might even have some wing damage, because he's just moved out of the way at Alex, and yet the front end fence on the left hand side is missing, and that's pretty much his day ruined, unfortunately. So no good there for the Frenchman, and he will drop right to the back of the field, and he will probably not go much further once he makes it back to pit lane, I would imagine. Lap 18 of 27, so we've not got long to go. And but yeah, it's really close through the field. Casper's closing back up again to Speedbari, but he's not using the ERS. He knows he's got a better chance down into turn 2. Tactician right on the back of Nicholas Matteo, who's doing a very good defensive job at the moment. He got Blizzard. Fabi making those soft compound tyres work at the moment, but he's still got another 10 laps to get them through. It's going to be a long shot by the end of this. Deso R2, Frosty, Nardi Perez in 10th, Alex in 11th, Hugolf in 12th, but don't be surprised if he pits and retires at the end of this. And a quick bit from the chat, the top tiers are always staggered. PS4 is at 7, PC's at 8, and Xbox is at 9. All the other tiers are 8 o'clock. So there was a bit in the chat going on about that, so I thought I'd clear that up.
Yeah, I mean, 7 o'clock PS4 F1 has been the case for a long time. Tactician again, very evenly matched in terms of Nicholas has. Oh, there it is. There's the customary Matteo penalty, and that may put Tactician back into play for that final podium position. But Casper now so close to that Torosso. The problem is, there's no problem in seeing that he can overtake to retake the lead, but with that time penalty, getting 3 seconds speed bar unless he forces him into a mistake, it seems unlikely to me.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to get past Barry and then gain 3 seconds, or hope that obviously Speed Barry picks up a penalty of his own, as Casper does have a 3-second penalty to be added to his time at the end of the race. So it's a bit of a tall order at the moment. The best thing the Dutchman can do is keep the pressure on, keep the pressure on that Toro Rosso. Hope that he can either get through and start to pull away, or hope that he can force the leader into a mistake, just to cut a curb or two, a bit too much, pick up a few warnings, pick up a penalty, put them back on even terms, and then if he gets by, it is for the lead of the race, because at the moment it's a taller order to do. Nicholas Matteo, well, he's going to drop through the field with that penalty, but he's still doing a good defensive job at the moment. Tactician's looking like he'll benefit at the moment, because currently he's got no penalties. Blizzard does, I'm sure Fabi does as well. So I think Tactician and Speed Barrier are the only 2 out there, possibly, apart from maybe Alex further down the field, that don't have any penalties.
Here comes Casper. This looks good. Sorry to cut you over, because Casper's going to go for it. He's going to go for a move to the inside to retake the lead here, Russia, and he does. But and there was slight contact. Speed Barrier slightly caught off guard by the lack of speed Casper had on the the exit of turn 2 and actually, you know, slightly nudged the rear, but no damage for the Toro Rosso, luckily. I mean, if he'd got damage there, man, that really would have given Casper a lot to smile about. So Casper really taking the fight to Speed Barry, and yes, the reigning champion isn't here today, but we're getting a fantastic battle for lead, very worthy of the reigning champion right now. In fact, 2 drivers who potentially could be future champions themselves. So Speed Barry demoted to P2. And Splitter picks up, now he's got 6 second penalties, and I think his chances of getting a podium are now really starting to slip away. It has been an Achilles heel Blizzard at times this season, picking up these time penalties. So at the moment, Tactician is in the box seat. For those of you who don't watch regularly, it is strict corner cutting, and at a track like this, mistakes are often heavily punished. So Speed Barry now is going to be trying to reset, get that battery back up again, and then take the fight to Casper, because he may not know about the penalty situation, so he can't rest on his laurels, because he knows that if he gets a time penalty, he'll have to pass Casper regardless. So Nicholas Matteo has a very close company, and that is the Alfa Romeo of Tactician, who looks about as close as ever. So I think we may see a move, but I'm just going to check on the top 2, see if looks unlikely there's going to be a move for the lead there. So let's look at Tactician. Yeah, this looks like a very close situation for Tactician. Tactician, can he move back into 3rd position? Matteo covers the inside, so Tactician's going to try and take it around the outside. He goes, oh, and there's contact behind. Blizzard locks the tyres slightly, and he's definitely made some kind of contact with the back of that Alfa Romeo. But Nicholas Matteo's straight line speed just seems to be incredible. I mean, even without DRS, and he didn't even have high battery modes, from what I could tell, he was still able to keep ahead of that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, that would say to me, and obviously to everybody watching, that he's trimmed the wings out of that a little bit, dropped them down a click or 2 in comparison to maybe the norm or what some of the other drivers have done, giving them that higher top line speed down the straights. And right now, considering he's not in DRS range of the cars ahead, nearly 4 seconds down the lead pair now as Blizzard gets drifting out of turn 10 as well. But that lower wing is certainly helping him at the moment, as it means when they're getting to the end of the straights, they're not alongside that Haas, and it means he can just pick his point and braking, pick his moment. Blizzard's just completely rammed into the back of Tactician under braking there. Hopefully he's not picked up any wing damage from that. Certainly don't see anything visible at the moment. Just trying to have a look through. No, everything looks all in order in terms of visibility. That doesn't mean he doesn't have any damage. Barry is right behind on Casper. I think the Toro Rosso might be planning maybe a bit of an attack shortly, if not this lap, certainly possibly in the next one. He looks a bit too far back at the moment, but the DRS can be quite powerful when you get the slipstream. He is going to close up, but not enough into turn 1. So do we have anything for the final podium position? You can see 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th in the background as well. And again, Blizzard getting very close to the back of the Alfa Romeo. Tactician, as Frosty has gone through on R2's Ferrari. That's over 8th position, further down the field, and they're going to try and see if they can close up. Now Dezo's gained back up onto this battle for 3rd as well, because he was 3.2 seconds down about 4 laps ago. So all the fighting for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th has meant that Dezo's closed up, and Frosty and R2 are not going to be far off the back of this as well. So penalties are going to mean some people might not even get points despite finishing 3rd, 4th or 5th.
Yes, I mean, the top 10 still very closely packed now. Fabi's on 12 laps on those soft tyres now, so he's got 5 laps to go. Can he somehow stretch it to the end of the race? That's going to be the interesting question. He's hanging in gamely in there. He's in P6 at the moment, but you know, that safety car really compromised those who started outside the top 10. But so we'll find out the next few laps. He maybe think, well, we've got nothing to lose, may as well just keep going, boom or bust in terms of the tyres. That's going to be the simple equation for that particular situation. So we did catch Stay Frosty overtaking LR2 into turn 2 to move back up to P8. It's been a relatively quiet race for Stay Frosty by his high standards. The Silverstone race winner, of course, earlier in the season, hasn't really had the race pace or the luck today to get inside. And here we go then, Tactician, lap after lap, just been getting tantalising close, but this is about as defensive as Nick Toad's had to be. But again, covers the inside brilliantly. It's just almost impossible to go around the outside into turn 2. So Tactician's got to think, well, maybe I've got to go for a move here. And I think he's in range here to go for a move into turn 4. And Nick Toad knew that. and he's gone very deep, but keeps it, runs slightly wide, but I think stewards wouldn't look at that. He was only just off the road, and it wasn't as if Tactician was alongside him, so I think he would have got away with that. May have got a warning in terms of the in-game penalty system, so I think Tactician, Andy, may have to think about a move, not on the traditional DRS straights, may sneak somewhere else. It's just a speed bar he did to Casper on the opening lap.
Yeah, quite possibly. Nicholas Mateo running very wide there through turn 9 before turn 10, right off the track onto the red AstroTurf. So I just wonder if his tyres have started to go away because he's just been pushing so hard. But he is defending quite well. He's positioning the car pretty well. He's taking the inside line, he's just closing that off, and then because he's still got more in the car's width and the car's length, and the advantage is just coming back to the racing line as he's entitled to do, he'll be frustrating the absolute heck out of a Tactician behind. And of course now we've got a train of 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and it's about to be, in a couple of laps we could easily be 8th and 9th onto this train as well. So this is for the podium. Right now Tactician's in the box seat though, just purely because of penalties, because everyone around him has at least 3 seconds. So although he'll be getting frustrated, he just needs to stay within that range and he'll be totally fine at the end of it and be on the podium. I think that might be his 1st or 2nd podium of the season as well.
Yes, and Tactician's not had a podium this season, but in terms of Nicholas, his best result was back at Silverstone, I believe, because he was one of the drivers who took advantage of that. Oh, and a big slide of the car by Nicholas Mateo. Now, half a second between the top two, so we'll have a look at them shortly just to see what their situation is. LR2's actually done pretty well to still keep... Whoa! And Blizzard ran wide out of turn 7, nearly slammed into the barrier there, but got it another time better than Blizzard. Well, Blizzard is 100% out of the fight for the podium unless something major happens. And again, they're really struggling on the rears now, seeing a lot of sliding on some of these cars. But, you know, lap after lap in the dirty air, it's not going to help with the temperatures, and you know they're having to do some of Fabi's tyres. I think are fading badly because look, his tyres are gone. They're completely shot because Tessa's right on the back of him now, and he's going to try and defend it. You have to go lay on the brakes. Those 3 cars ahead really getting into a scramble here. Tactician's trying to get over, but the tyres are beginning to die off here. There's not many laps here to go here at Sochi. My goodness. That Haas of Nicholas Mateo barely getting through the corner. And here comes Tactician, Blizzard. I think we could get a 3 wide situation. Just going to briefly look at the top 2. Although looking up ahead, they don't look that close to me. So even going through the final corner, they're almost side by side. So surely we're now going to get something happen here. Well, Blizzard seems to have carried a bit more speed. Will we get a potential 3 wide situation here? And Nicholas Mateo still comes on slight contact in the Alfa Romeo, and Blizzard sneaks through very smartly. I think Tactician didn't need to get so close. Now Blizzard's going to try and take one car and try and overtake the Haas as well to move up into 3rd, but no, Nicholas Mateo covers off again brilliantly in terms of ending a big slide as he comes out of the exit into the end of Sector 1. Nicholas Mateo is defending like his absolute life depends on it, but he has no tyres left. That is very much clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Those mediums on that Haas are completely gone. They have had enough, and Blizzard, he's running wide again. Blizzard, he really needs to try and get by as quickly as possible. You can tell that he knows what he needs to do if he wants any chance of the podium or points or anything. As he goes to the inside now for what will be turn 12 with DRS, he should be easily passed, but Nicholas Mateo will make it as hard as possible into the braking zone. But Blizzard is through into what is P3 at the moment, but we know that Renault has about 6 or 9 seconds worth of penalties, so he needs to be careful. Nicholas Mateo going up the inside, that's not an overtaking place there. He's managed to hold it. So Blizzard now, he's made a mistake. I was about to say he needs to try and pull away from Nicholas Mateo and hope that the Haas holds up everyone else over these last 2 laps. Can you believe it, on lap 26 already? I thought we had about 5 or 6 to go. No, I mean the top 9, 3rd to 9th, they're all within a shot of getting a podium, and I think Fabi's tyres have finally gone completely. He's going to get absolutely mugged now in terms of the overtakes. Up ahead, Mateo trying to get back ahead of Blizzard, and he has with the straight line speed, and right behind Fabi, side by side with Desso. Hugo picks up another time penalty. He's got the fast lap at the moment. But Desso's tyres are shot to pieces, so both Haas struggling with tyres, which in a funny way actually simulates the real sport. The Haas were terrible on tyres in the real life 2019 season, so art imitating life here.
So Nicholas Mateos back up to third for the time being. Blizzard will be a bit frustrated. Here comes right behind it is Stay Frosty down the inside. I mean, Fabi is risking a puncture, no doubt about it. It could be imminent puncture for him because he looks like he's got absolutely nothing left on those rears by the looks of it. So Blizzard then. We got to focus our attention on the top two. Casper is doing enough to stay ahead of Speedbarry. Speedbarry maybe building for a final lap of song. So here comes Blizzard once again on Nicholas Mateos. Switches to left, then back to the right, to the inside. And Nicholas Mateos got nothing this time to fight with. Blizzard just needs to get it slowed down, and he does. And that was a really smart overtake from Blizzard. It's nearly a second between the top two now, but as long as Speedbarry doesn't get a penalty on the final lap, he will be winning this race if he stays within 3 seconds. I think Taylor picks up a time penalty, so I have no idea who's going to get the podium. I think based on the maths, Tactician is going to get the podium. He still doesn't have 3 seconds of time penalties. Final lap hit then here at Sochi. Casper has broken the 1 second barrier. He has, at least in terms of on track, broken Speedbarry to a small degree. But we're going to carry on with this battle for the podium position. Nicholas Mateos with this mighty straight line speed seems to have set up for a low downforce setup. Did he load up his Monza setup here? Looks like it. Has a no grip in the slow corners, but on the straights at least has plenty of it. It's LR2 and Fabio are fighting for position, and now it's going to be Nicholas Mateos going so. Oh my goodness! I thought he was going to slide into the rear of Blizzard, but he didn't. He got it slowed down, and they're still scrapping furiously for this final podium position. They're 10 seconds now behind the top two, which just shows you how much time they've lost battling here. And now Blizzard slowing the car down. Nicholas Mateos right bump. Just going to see where Casper and Speedbarry are, and what's going on with Speedbarry. Speedbarry is slowing down. Wait a minute, is he slowing down for Casper maybe to give him the win? I don't know. Something weird is going on with that car. Going to go straight back to Nicholas Mateos. Is he going to try and get a fire? But no, we're going to go straight back to Casper because Casper is entering the final few sections of corners. I'm not sure what's happening to Blizzard. He seems to have gone off the boil completely, but it's still, the gap is still there. It's 2 seconds. It may be 3 seconds. So Casper running through turn 17, round 18. He's going to cross the line and take the checkered flag here at Russia. But is it going to be enough for the race victory? No, it's not. Speedbarry wins the Russian Grand Prix, his 3rd victory of the season. And right back behind it, they're going to be all coming over cars. It's Blizzard's going to take 3rd on track. Nicholas Mateos 4th. And well, who's going to be? It's going to be Tactician who takes 3rd. Desso in 4th. LR2 in 5th. A season best performance for R2 and Desso. So it is Speedbarry who takes the victory here by just under I should say, a second. And Casper, he'll be absolutely devastated. That one penalty has cost him the victory here, but it's still another great performance for Casper. Yet another podium for him this season. That would be his 6th podium. But Speedbarry, he's done it. He wasn't quite the class of the field today on track, but in terms of keeping it clean, he was, and it's his 3rd win of the season. So with the reign champion absent, he's actually reduced the championship lead back down to 155. But of course, the drivers' championship battle is over already. So celebrating the champagne, Vladimir Putin diving off the stage immediately so he doesn't get sprayed with the champagne. But it's a double podium for Alfa Romeo, Andy. So an excellent day for Alfa Romeo and Toro Rosso.
Yeah, brilliant result there again for Toro Rosso. Speedbarry just doing enough there. I thought he was doing the gentlemanly thing for a minute. They were dropping off at the end just to let Casper win, but you know, he did take it in the end. That penalty costing the Dutchman his 1st race victory. So Speedbarry takes another race victory here. I think that's his 3rd of the season, if my maths is correct. I've got the standings in front of me. Yep, perfect. Good to know I'm still on the ball. And no penalties is what's made the difference there. Casper 2nd, Tactician taking the 3rd place after that frantic race long scrap, especially after the safety car. No penalties making the difference there. Dezo up to 4th, R2 in 5th, season best for both of them. Blizzard in 6th, Nicholas Mateos in 7th, Alex jumps up to 8th, Fabi in 9th despite the tyres going off at the end. Stay Frosty finishing in 10th, Nardi Perez in 11th, Hugo in 12th. I think Nardi Perez set the fastest lap, so no additional point, and Jim Roy retired during the first pit stop phase, which was, we believe, what triggered the safety car that caused all this mayhem that we've just witnessed.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to now get the top 3 in for our final interview session of the season and indeed the decade. So we're just going to get that organised. So let's create an invite for those guys. So a really good race that was. I mean, the DRS trains did kind of limit the overtaking action at times, but in the end, as the tyres burnt off, we saw so many It's a lot of frantic action.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty going on in that race, and that safety car would just, it almost kind of made that race as well. Partway through, just closed everybody right up. But at the same time, it was such a shame to see how it would have balanced out without the safety car, because after that pit stop phase, Casper was 1.6 ahead when he came out of the pits on speed, Barry. If that safety car didn't come out, would the Toro Rosso have caught up? Would the Dutchman have pulled away? We'll now never know, obviously, because of that. But it did give us that frantic scrap between tactician Nicholas Matteo, Blizzard, Dezo, Fabian there as well. R2 coming through at the end with Stay Frosty. So we've seen plenty of action regardless, and it certainly gave us plenty to watch for the final race of 2019.
Yes, I mean the midfield action in this top tier in AOR, particularly since I started watching it and then eventually becoming a commentator, it has always been spectacular. And that was another example of that chaotic action we often see in the midfield here, which at times has made the races so entertaining, even when Dom's been about 30 seconds ahead, like he was at Monaco, which for me at least, and in fact it was more of a minute. I would say that's probably the most dominant drive I've ever seen in any league, that particular performance we saw from Dom at Monaco. So we're just waiting to get the top three into the podium, and that is the likes of Speed, Bari and Tactician. So I think we're just waiting on Casper. So Andy, I think we've got the race winner, so we can get ourselves started with our post-race interviews for the Russian Grand Prix.
Absolutely, I was thinking the same thing. We do have the race winner, so we will start there. And I do have to agree, I do think Schnitzel's performance at Monaco is probably one of the most dominating things I've ever seen either. But Speed Barry, welcome again. Third victory of the season. You made to work for that one a little bit more this time round. Give us your perspective of how things went out there.
Just want to say hi to everyone and you guys. And then actually, when I just would say, first steam was actually pretty fine. I had only one warning, if I say correct, in the first steam. And then, in this track, you have to if you want to drive on a safety, if you want to drive on the limit, it's like every corner you can get any warning, every corner. And then and this track is not really consistency in the just give you a warning. Sometimes just give you and sometimes just not give you. But anyway, when I just go on the second stint and then after safety car, and then hopefully safety car didn't came out 2 or 3 laps later, because the soft runner, just the medium runner, just ready to kill us. But yeah. Just the second scene, I just asked my engineer, and then he just told me Casper has a 3-second time penalty. And then my hands just shake when I just know him. And then I just say, okay, in this track, yeah, Barry, you just did 15 laps without only one warning, completely in the limits. But, in this track, even one lap, you can get 3 warning and done, 3 seconds. Say, okay, and then just say to myself, okay, I'm not just driving really safe. And then I can say, to be honest, I just was 8/10 or 7/10 slower than my real pace. And then I just want to leave Casper to go, and then I can really drive safe behind his DRS. But yeah, it's not really a good a strategy when you see someone has a penalty and then you just leave him. But this is the win, because I know if I didn't get because I get one warning in lap 16, if I say correct, and then I said to myself, oh, okay, I have to do 10 laps without any warning in this track. And then because in the Challenger series, I just got a penalty on the last lap. And then I just told myself, I'm not losing this one again. And then I say, okay, I'm driving really safe, really slow, to be honest. And then just going smooth, really smooth. And then in the last lap, because I have a little bit dirty of Casper, and then I say, okay, Casper, go. I don't want your DRS. I just want to drive safe in the last lap. And yeah, just I win. But yeah, it's good, and congrats to Tactician and Casper.
Fantastic stuff. We did wonder what you were doing at the end there, so you're just looking to get out of the way. But that's the final race of 2019. What's your goals going into 2020, real quick?
Yeah, this is absolutely my rookie year, actually. And then I have improved. I have learned so many things. Like when I was in Australia, when we just come into the Monaco, I wasn't really like I can't even win the race. You know, when I just come to my rookie, I say, okay, if I get like 2 or 3 podiums, it's enough, because I know AOR is like best league in the world. And then for 2020 goal, because actually the season is now continued, so we are not really finished the season. But I'm gonna say for a new season of AOR, my goal is just actually finish. I can, if Dom is still racing in a F1, it's my goal to can just fight for him, and maybe I'm trying my best to can get the championship. And even I have a pro draft as well, so I hope some team pick me as well.
Fantastic stuff. Well, congratulations on the victory again here tonight, your third of the season, and congratulations to you as well on making the pro draft as well for next year. Thanks very much for coming and joining us.
Thank you, man.
We move on to the second place driver. We move on to Casper. Casper, it's so near so far, as is what they usually say. It looked like you could have been on for your first victory. You certainly had the pace to do that first victory in the top tier, but just that one penalty just getting you at the end of the race. How do you feel after that?
Yeah, I'm just very disappointed. I think I had the pace to win. I was pulling away from Barry at the end because I was pushing so hard. I really wanted to make a 3-second gap, but ultimately it didn't work, and I finished second, and just very disappointed with that. Yeah.
You can hear it. You're struggling to think of what to say. You can hear the disappointment in your voice. The silver lining, I think we would be trying to look at here is it's another podium. It's another, step of consistency, and probably one of the top leagues going. Well, surely that's got to be a plus point, at least in one sense, moving into 2020.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've improved a lot this season, so good signs ahead of 2020. I'll be doing my best to beat Barry and Dom for the remaining races, and yeah, just doing my best, and more than that you can't do. So.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Well, congratulations on second place. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but I hope that we do speak to you as a race winner before the end of the season, as I do definitely think you deserve it. But thank you very much for joining us again, Casper. Well done.
Thank you.
We move on to the final driver, and it is Tactician. Tactician, it's been so long since me and you have actually had the chance to speak. The last time would have been when we were both doing F2. First podium of the season. How do you feel? Must be good.
Yeah, hello everyone. Definitely my first time this season being on the podium. It does feel pretty nice. First of all, obviously, congrats to Barry and Casper. They were clearly the two fastest drivers today. I know Casper is kind of disappointed with the second, but still, very good job from the two of you. As for my race, I think the word I describe it is redemption, because some of you may know that I had the Russian Grand Prix in the Esports Challenger Series, where I threw a podium finish with an absolute just stupid thing that I did there. Coming into this weekend with the Russian Grand Prix in AOR, I knew I had the pace. I knew this was one of my favorite tracks in the game. And obviously, Dominic wasn't racing, so I knew all the stars were aligned for a really good finish today. So I just knew I had just needed to do the job today, and that would be a good finish indeed. And yeah, coming into P3 on the finish line definitely feels really good, especially after a pretty kind of a weird season in a way. Some good results here and there, some bad results, but it's good to see that finally I have myself on a podium.
Yeah, definitely. So how was it fighting amongst that midfield scrap? Because it went on for lap after lap after the safety car. Yourself, Nicholas Matteo Blizzard was in there, Dezo was coming along, Fabi before his tyres went. It was just an absolute constant battle. How was it? Because you were in the middle for a good chunk of that, so you were trying to attack and defend. Just how hard was that?
Yeah, believe me, the last 5 laps were pretty nerve-wracking because, yeah, as you said, I was in the battle in between Nico and Blizzard. I knew both of them had penalties, so that's why I didn't really try any aggressive moves on either of them. So I just tried to stay within DRS, just try to manage tires, manage ERS, all that stuff. I think it was a few laps before the end, Blizzard managed to overtake me. That was kind of expected, I guess, because I believe Nico was starting to struggle on his tires, and I had to brake very early on some corners and braking zones, which meant that Blizzard eventually got the chance to overtake me, which he did. I didn't really try to battle any of it, just trying to watch from the grandstands, if you will. But yeah, because I had no penalties, I knew if I just bring the car home, I would be P3, and that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, it's the thinking man's drive is what I would call that one there, knowing you had that advantage. It was only yourself and Speed Barry with no penalties, and congratulations on taking your first podium. Hopefully it's not the last time we speak to you before the end of the season, but Tactician, thank you very much for coming along and joining us. And that is your interviews for the Russian Grand Prix. I know Mark's going to finish it off shortly with goodbyes and everything, but from myself personally, I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. We'll see you in January.
Well, thank you very much, Andy, once again for those very professionally done interviews as ever. We've spoken to many drivers this season, and it's been always good to hear the post-race thoughts, even if 99% of the time it was Dom doing most of the talking, particularly in the championship. And you know, he has been the driver who has defined this season so far, and of course last season as well. But yes, I echo Andy's sentiments in terms of the admins, commentators and drivers out there. I hope everyone has a great Christmas and a very happy New Year. And as you can see on screen, here is our countdown. Would you believe it? 16 rounds of the season gone already. That race in Australia back in August seems like a lifetime ago. But we're past Russia now, and we head to some of the great tracks of Formula 1 to finish off in the new year. So it's going to be a 5-race sprint to the end of the season, and we start with Japan at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. And until then, a farewell to all of you, and it's goodbye for now from Apex Online Racing.